What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to do a technical analysis video about Tesla and SPY, do a comparison of them and break down some important things that are developing on the charts, and talk about why on earth the falling wedges that exist on both of them could help some very interesting things play out. So I'm going to break down these possibilities for you guys, talk about some important things to note, but before I do anything like that, I just need to mention a few things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. It ends in just about 4 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. All right, guys, so I want to talk about some important developments on the charts, but before I do anything like this, I have to talk about something going on with both Tesla and SPY. So when talking about these charts, they both have falling wedges, which is very interesting. But first, we need to look at this. So one thing that tends to happen is Tesla has a tendency of moving very similar to that of SPY and also the QQQ. And in this video, I want to talk about SPY specifically. You will notice that they both dropped together. They tried to pump together, but it's just that Elon Musk was selling shares near the very beginning of this year. And we saw Tesla declining because of some news that came out near the end of last year. So that's why Tesla kind of underperformed for the very beginning of this year. And that's the only reason why Tesla was underperforming while SPY was trying to hold up. And that was just one of those instances, right? But besides this instance right here, they've moved almost in a very similar manner for almost the entire year, right? They pumped together right here. They came down together. They pumped together. They came down very similarly. They both pumped. They both came down. They both pumped, came down. They both pumped. Then I think it was Tesla started dropping a little bit early because of their earnings. SPY was a little bit ahead, and then it started dropping as well. So it's still very similar, and the trends in them tend to be very, very similar, of course. So now the question is, what does this have to do with Tesla? What does analyzing SPY have to do with Tesla as well? Well, notice one thing about both Tesla and SPY is that they both have bullish divergences that are developing on the 30 minutes time frames. So if you look at SPY, I have it right about here on the 30 minutes time frame. Look at the RSI and the MACD versus the price. So you can see right here, it made many lower lows basically. So right here, it made this low around this 444 area, made another low around 444, a little bit a lower part of 444 basically. Then it hit 443 right here, making 3 new lows in the last 3 days. If you look at the RSI was at 26 during the first low. The price made a lower low, but the RSI went to 33. Then for the next low, the RSI was at about 30. This is like around 33 to 35 at the next low. It actually hit 35 during the low, so a little bit different as well. So the RSI is uptrending, making higher lows. The MACD is uptrending, making higher lows as well. If you zoom out, you could see it making higher lows. But the price of all things is continuing to make lower lows, right? I could even zoom out more and you could see this is continuing in the RSI as well. But we have a potential triple negative divergence. I'm sorry, a triple positive divergence, which is bullish for the stock technically, developing, suggesting that a nice reversal could start very soon. However, solely investing based off divergences is not really applicable and not really sufficient. That's why it's very important to look at other factors. That's why I want to talk about what's going on with SPY right now, because it's in a very interesting place. So looking at SPY, when we zoom out of the chart, you will notice something very interesting. Basically, we had this breakout from this 444 level from before. So notice how, if I go back to this like June to July period, we had this cup and handle like formation. You guys remember that? A cup and handle formed. Where did we break out from? This rectangle right here is the resistance around this 444 zone. And we just retested this support. So the previous resistance right here became support recently. So we retested the breakout area. You guys can see it right here. See the breakout area was right here. This is the resistance on this side, and then this became support on this side. So this is like a textbook technical move, and this tends to lead to bounces, but not always. We also have this trend line right here. See the blue line down here? Look at the blue line. You will notice that this is where the previous support was that was holding SPY up, not Tesla, SPY up for quite a while. And then that also acts as support. And then on top of that, we have a bullish falling wedge developing on it. We bounced off the wedge right here, the white line right here. These two white lines are drawing out this wedge, so we kind of bounced off that. So there are three possibilities I'm really leaning towards. I want to make this kind of quick. in my opinion, there are three possibilities. Number one would be, let's just say we continue to get lots of bad news and the market is just continuing to sell off because we get bad news after bad news after bad news. If that's the case, if we keep getting bad news, you're going to be watching for a retest of this high. We may not even test it or so, and we might just continue dropping down just like this, and we just continue sinking, and it's much harder for the market to get some kind of breakout. SPY also has the 442 gap over there, so it may take a while for it to really break out right here, and it might just get a much later breakout. So that could happen a lot later. But then the second possibility would be something like this, where we basically drop down right here, and then we get a bounce off this confluence right over here. There's a confluence that formed. This confluence is made because this was a previous uh, resistance, which became support. That's the first thing from right here. We also have this trend line. All of this could be acting as support for it to bounce from here. And this would be like the more bullish case. And we could see the market try to get a breakout much sooner and try to hit this resistance, but it could always like reject afterwards. But there is a possible breakout that is possible. So I'm going to close this red one just so that this is more clear. This would be like the more bullish case. And in order for this to happen, we need some like decent piece of news. And by the way, going back, let me just say one more thing. When it comes to this red one down here, the more bearish case, we need a really bad piece of news to come out. And so far that has not happened. So it's looking less likely. Okay, anyways, there's this possibility. And then there's the second possibility, which I think are the two most likely possibilities. We could drop a little bit lower. This would be the last possibility of to about like 442 to fill the gap. And then we come back and form like an inverse head and shoulders like structure. And then we just start pushing up from here. And we see the market like either retest that, could hit the trend line and then come down. But something like this is also very possible for rejection. So these are all very possible outcomes. And we have to watch for these very carefully. So looking at this, right, what do I think is the most likely possibility? It is possible for the market to sell off more if we get bad news, but we need a very bad catalyst for the market to sell off, such as a bank collapsing or something like that. So far, that has not happened. And looking at the quadruple or triple bullish divergence on many different ETFs and stocks, this looks more probable. It looks more likely like the green or yellow trend lines are going to likely end up playing out, these like possibilities I played out. And it looks more likely like the market may try to bounce, but in order for that to happen, we have to watch for a break of the resistance right over here at this particular level. So those are the two levels to really watch for. We're going to be watching to see if we could break out of this trend line, out of this wedge, and that's going to be your signal for a bullish move. But so far, it has not happened, so we're going to wait and see on it. But I'm calling this level out because remember, we have this confluence and we have potential to bounce. I'm calling this out because remember, Tesla and the whole market have a tendency of moving similarly, right? Tesla and SPY, Tesla and the QQQ, the NASDAQ, they tend to be on very similar algorithms, and this could end up affecting Tesla big time too. So here are the three possibilities for Tesla I'm eyeing for the week. I want to make this quick, by the way, guys. Don't want to make this video too long. So basically, when looking at the chart, Tesla tried to hold support at this 238 area. But here are the three possibilities. Now, we have a bullish falling wedge on Tesla, but don't forget when you look at Tesla's chart, it happens to have a bullish divergence. You could see starting from right about here, Tesla made a lower low, another lower low, and a third lower low. Three lows were made, three new lows. But the RSI made a higher, so it started off with this low, then it made a higher low, then a higher low, forming a triple bullish divergence. The MACD, higher low, higher low, higher low. That is once again a bullish divergence, which suggests that upside is very probable for it. But it's not a guarantee because divergences are not like the most sustainable or the most sufficient ways of just like reading a chart. They are just one indicator that could work in favor. That's why we need to look for a confirmation through a break of this wedge for us to truly break out. So Tesla also happens to have this daily gap down here. Kind of like how SPY has a gap down to 442. Tesla has a gap down to 235 down here, right? So I'm seeing three possibilities with that said. Here are the three possibilities to look out for. This is the least likely one in my opinion, but it needs a bad piece of news. If Tesla has a really bad piece of news, if something really bad happens, something horrible comes out involving, like, I don't know, politics or the stock or a recall or who knows what, we could see Tesla drop to about 230, then finally try to bounce from there because it's going to be very oversold. And that is like the really bearish case. Okay. So be prepared for this just in case. And for any true breakout, we have to break the wedge for confirmation. So far, it has not happened. Then the two more likely possibilities would be Tesla coming down to retest this low and possibly forming like an inverse head and shoulders like structure, then trying to break out immediately and not really dropping too much lower, and then just starting to break out as soon as like Monday or Tuesday, trying to get back to 250 plus if we get some like good news. That is very possible based off technical analysis because of the bullish divergence, because of the fact that it hit a major support around this 240 area and is trying to hold 240. And then the second possibility would be one more drop for the stock. Maybe it gets one more bad piece of news, it hits this 235 gap and bounces off gap support, and then starts making its way up from here and it wants to start pushing to much higher levels. That is another possibility. And even if it pushes up to higher levels like this in some kind of breakout, it could always reject and come back down later. So I'm not turning into like a permabull on Tesla saying it has to go up forever. It could always reject in the future. But look at these two levels, basically a bounce starting as soon as like Monday or Tuesday and it just pushing up, or one more drop to fill the gap below and then a bounce. Those seem like the two most the most probable possibilities for Tesla. Looking at the current trend, looking at the bullish falling wedge, and looking at the bullish divergence that happens to be forming. There's a possibility of us continuing to sink down, right? But we need a bearish catalyst. And so far, I don't see that for Tesla unless something happens next week. So far, I don't see it. So these are the two most likely possibilities I'm keeping in my mind, right? Either it comes down to fill the gap and it bounces, or it bounces from here. And I'm saying this because this is in unison with SPY. With SPY, when you look at SPY's chart, it has something very similar going on with it. I'm calling this out because when you look at SPY, it could continue to break down, but it's a little bit less likely for it to continue tanking and tanking and tanking unless we get a very bad piece of news. We have this confluence, we have the previous resistance right here becoming support, we have this trend line, and then we have a bullish divergence, a triple to quadruple bullish divergence, depending on where you're looking. All of that's developing, which suggests that these are the two most probable outcomes. The less probable outcome would be this like continuing to sink down. That is possible, but it's less likely unless we get a bad piece of news. We could come down to fill the gap at 442, then bounce from there, form an inverse head and shoulders like structure, and start breaking out. If we break resistance right here, that's going to be your confirmation. Then the breakout could happen, or it could just break out from here and not really drop to fill the gap. The green possibility is also likely. Those are the two most probable outcomes I'm seeing. So make sure you're ready for that just to be safe. And keep this in your mind because that's what technical analysis is suggesting right now. If we kind of like set the news aside. All right. So Tesla may follow the trend. It's going to be one of these two most likely. I'm still open to the other possibility, but it really depends on the news. And that's what I'm seeing for the chart based off technical analysis, based off what our divergences are suggesting. I hope this quick technical update was helpful for you guys. So thank you all so much for listening. I'm going to make another video and talk about the QQQ a little bit later, but please, please, please look out for that. And I hope the best for everyone just looking at these technicals. Okay, so thank you for listening. Have a great day, everyone. Tesla in the market to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.